Special broadcast coming to you live from Uppington in the Northern Cape. It's tucked away on the northern banks of the Orange River, surrounded by vineyards, and this is where you can find this new hospital, the Dr. Harry Surtie Hospital. High tech, as I said, and that's the word that's going to come to you again and again. And I wish that you could see what I'm looking at, just overlooking the premises here. It looks like a very professional establishment in Sandton. I tell you, medical aid standard is what is taking place here. It looks like a private hospital, but the question is, will the people who come through these doors get medical aid type or private hospital type service? Because that's been key, and Leanne mentioned that just before the break, when people were saying that they hope that the nurses and the doctors will treat them with the same level of respect and dignity that is afforded to medical aid subscribers or people who go to private hospital. And the woman who's going to have to make sure that the measures are in place for that is the CEO of this particular hospital, Miss Dina Beukes. My apologies there. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell me, how are you going to make sure that procedures are in place for people to get high quality service here?
Thank you so much, Leanne. Yes, you know that we moved into this hospital on the 1st of November last year, and we have a 3-year phase-in plan. So it means that we're only going to be step by step so that we make sure that people really getting the care and the quality of care they really need it. You know, it is sometimes that your medical aid hospital or your private hospital, as it knows in South Africa, they cater for 5% of the population of this country, and we have to serve the 95. And those people cannot afford, most of them cannot afford health care because they do not have the money to afford it. And that is why we are so glad for the government of this country really to provide us with a hospital in a rural province, and actually in Uppington, right at the heart of the Kalahari, with the state of the art. And we are here as a team. So I am very proud of the nurses and the doctors and the support staff and our cleaners and whoever is working in this hospital. And as you can say, we are nearly a year in this hospital, and it still looks that it is a brand new. Even you can smell it is brand new. So, and this is how we're going to keep it. The processes that we put in place is to recruit the necessary specialities to this rural town in the Northern Cape. And that is why we actually thanking Morning Live to give us the chance to show South Africa what is in the deep rural area of South Africa, and that the professionals are actually looking into this insert so that they can see if they come here, they are going to have the state-of-the-art equipment, they're going to live in a state-of-the-art facilities because we also provide the necessary accommodation for people who is coming here. So that for me, and because people do not know Uppington as we do know Uppington, because they only see it's the hottest place in South Africa. So I hope people will actually see that we have very good weather, even if we have sometimes extremes. But if they come here, they can actually be in a state of the art, which I think it is not to be found in South Africa at the moment.
You have to run this ship and make sure that it's steered in the right direction. Perhaps give us a little bit of your own background as a medical profession and why we should be confident in the fact that you're leading or heading up this institution.
I'm actually a child of the Northern Cape. I was born and bred in a small place in the Macqualand in Steenkop. So, and I came here in 1981. I worked as a primary health care manager for 10 years in the ZF Mgao district. I went overseas for 5 years to run a project in Saudi Arabia and in the Arab countries where we actually take your long-term and your chronic disease sufferers from a tertiary level and put them back in the primary healthcare system. So I did that project, it was planned for 10 years. I did it in 3 years' time. So I think I am quite capable to steer the ship in the right direction.
Well, you certainly inspire confidence, and I'm sure you're familiar with some of the challenges, both locally and abroad. One of the challenges, the stock piles of medication in South Africa, the levels of stock. How will you make sure that you have the adequate resources when it comes to that, and that people aren't being given Panado for a gaping wound, for example?
I can assure you, since we started last year, we actually did not experience a single drug out of stock. There was some challenges that we actually had because we have different systems of ordering of drugs, but that is not something that will affect the stockouts. We also have a system in place which is an electronic system which we call the logos, which makes it very easy for us to find out when we have minimum stocks, when we have maximum stock, so we can, with the touch of the button, we can actually see what is happening. So we have a lot of systems in place where we do not have hard copies to look through papers, what is happening. With the touch of the button, we can have answers immediately, so we can act immediately, and that also is one of the areas that we actually is on top of. So yes, your hospital and because we face in the system, we do not overload the staff with a lot of burdens that they're going to feel, but they are actually overloaded with work, because the phase-in process will say step by step we are taking, we are actually slicing up this big elephant.
And lastly, I know that you had mentioned it a bit earlier on in the interview that you opened your doors a little bit earlier this year, or late last year it was, but today is the official opening. What are some of the challenges that you've had to iron out and smooth out along the way, some trial and error that you've seen before today's opening, that you can now say these have been resolved because we've learned over the past few months what to do and what not to do?
If I think quickly of is the technical systems. You know, when we came from the old Cordonia, everything was paper-based. And when we moved in here, a lot of the things were electronic. So that was a huge challenge. You know, a simple thing that happens where people forced a door open, instead of just using the electronic system to open the door, and you have a breakdown in that. So this was small challenges, but it becomes big when people are not used to do that. The other one is for instance, to tell people that you don't have to write a memo, that you actually can do it by the internet or the emails or your communication system, that you don't have to do it in a paper base, that we can use it like communication through your emails, your SMSs or whatever. So that was also a huge challenge to get people. Actually, we started where we actually train even your cleaners how to use a computer, because so high-tech it is, because so that the cleaner can order their cleaning stuff and things through the computer. So that is some of the challenges that we actually faced when we moved in.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I said it a little bit earlier during the show that high tech, that's what you're going to hear throughout the course of the morning, because it really, really is quite impressive when it comes to that. Technology is taking over. I tell you, you can't live with it, you can't live without it. Okay, let's leave it there for now. The CEO of the hospital there, Mrs. Dina Beukes, she just joined us to give us an update of how things are running at the moment. A quick ad break.